Welcome to Bam Bam's Boom Boom Room, starring your host, Bam Bam, and frankly, whoever the fuck that I want.
All right, welcome here back to Bam Bam's Boom Boom Room, and today we got us a real roughneck here. We got a cut carrying member of the Kosa Nation, Mr. Thomas Guffi Vestergaard, a.k.a. the Sensitive Biker on Instagram. He is the president of Kosa Nation MC. He's an author, a lecturer, motivational speech speaker, and a social media presence, because I don't like using influencer because it sounds like you have a very bad cold, the influenza. And he's just all around a really good dude. I mean, you get this really good dude vibe when you see his stuff online, and as soon as I met him, I'm like, this is a good dude.
That's because you don't know me.
I'm a good people person. Well, Thomas, sensitive biker, Guffi Vestergaard, welcome to the pod. I've been looking forward to this. How you been, man?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to it too.
That's good.
Nice to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
I've been stalking you a little online after you contacted me, so.
Oh, stop. We both have, so.
Yeah.
But I really dig your profile and your messaging and what you stand for. And going deeper into you, I found out a lot about your history, and you've been through the grinder. You've been through the shit.
Yeah, you can say that.
Yeah, I will say that. I'm not just gonna say it. I am saying it.
Yeah.
And you've had a tough time, and now you're preaching the goodness and the positive mindset, and just being a better person.
Yeah, and for me, it's very important to use my past in a positive way, because otherwise it's very hard to live with all the shit I've been through. But when I started with lectures, and that was kind of the best therapy for me.
Yeah.
Because the more people that know about my pain, the less hold it has in me personally.
Exactly.
So every time I tell my story to new people, then it's like my past it's like a sieving out of me. It doesn't have the hold it had when I was younger, and it's kind of like, no, it's just like telling a story now. That doesn't mean I still have doesn't still have trauma about some of the things, but it's much more easier to live with in a day-to-day basis.
Confronting that demon that had a hold of you.
Exactly, and the best therapy I ever had was listening to people asking questions after my lecture and hearing their point of view, because many of them, they had no clue about the lifestyle I lived. And because they has another background, then they see the world in a different light, and they ask questions that I would never think to ask myself.
Exactly.
So that kind of pushed me to think in other ways and ask myself other questions, like, okay, if you see this as a problem, maybe I should look at that in my personality, or that's a part of myself I didn't think of before. Maybe I should work on that one, and in that way. So that was much more beneficial for me than talking to a therapist.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I know that you're sober, and so am I.
Yeah.
I'm on my 4th month.
Oh,
and
congratulations.
Thank you very
much. I
much.
have 13 years.
Oh,
cheers.
Well, I have a ways to go, but man, congratulations, man. It feels great. So, but I can definitely feel that vibe. It's very inspirational from you. But let's get some of that crazy internet icebreaker stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
You ready for some quick ones?
Of course.
100 dudes versus a gorilla.
100 dudes versus...
You haven't seen that on the internet?
Ah.
Yeah.
The gorilla will win.
I think gorillas are too nice.
You think so?
Yeah, I think gorillas are
That's
kind.
because you never saw them up close.
I've been to the zoo. No. But yeah, I could picture. I think like if it was a grizzly bear, the 100
You
dudes
rip
are
your fucking
toast.
arm off.
But the gorillas, they seem like they might get through one or two, and they'll be like, "Hey, we have to stop this violence."
Don't be fooled because they only eat leaves.
They eat leaves with steroids, apparently.
Yeah.
So, how many times do you think about the Roman Empire each day?
I actually think a lot of it.
Yeah.
I do.
Why do so many men say that?
Because, it's, I don't know why, but for me, it's kind of like, I think also when I was a Nazi for 16 years, most of all because I hated myself and I couldn't live with that. So it was easier just hate everything I didn't understand, people I was afraid of, and that kind of a thing. And then I didn't have to take any accountability for my own actions. I could just blame everybody else for my misfortune. But back to the Roman Empire, I think that's with the whole glory thing and fighting for something bigger than yourself. That was some of the things that I got dragged into with National Socialism. This is, I can dedicate my life to this. This is a higher purpose. I'm fighting for something better than what I have now. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of that in the Roman Empire as well.
Same as the Vikings too.
Yeah, either civilization that the Egyptians or the Mongols or whatever. Yeah. So I think that attracts people because men fight every day.
Of course they do.
And
most
of all themselves.
Exactly.
And then seeing something physical in history that some men came together and they made something great. Maybe they didn't do it in the perfect way.
Stop.
Stop. In the political correct way, but still, they made something great, and that's something to be proud of.
It is. I definitely agree. That's a really interesting angle on that. That actually got me to think a bit more on that depth. And the last quick one: do you believe in aliens?
Yes, I do.
Good. So do I.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're going to get visited anymore.
No, I think that's done.
You're
too stupid.
There's no intelligent life down here anymore. We got rid of them.
If the aliens come to visit us, they're gonna talk with the shrooms because they are much more
fun than us. Yeah.
Yeah, much more.
They're like, they'll be talking to the mushrooms and go, "Do you know they still use paper on their buttholes? That's so weird."
The mycelium, they're much more intelligent life form than we are.
Yeah, I mean, I'm half Asian, so we eat a lot of seafood, but I don't eat octopus of the same reason because those creatures are crazy smart. And when those aliens come down here and they're gonna look at us and like, "Greetings, you did what with Kevin?" And then we're gonna be fucked royally.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. And they have 8 arms and they're much bigger. Speaking of the gorilla, we're gonna have a tough time with a very big octopus.
I think so too.
Okay, so we got all the fun stuff out of the way.
Yeah.
Well, Guffi, tell me a bit about upbringing. I mean, where are you from originally?
Yeah, I'm from Zealand, in Denmark, and a little town called Jystrup.
Jystrup, yeah.
I grew up there, and my father was a drunken, violent alcoholic that sold weapons to bikers and skinheads when I was a child. And when I was about 12 years old, 10 or 12, we were standing out in the backyard and shooting with semi-automatic rifles after empty beer cans. So that was kind of the life I lived.
Basically Alabama.
Yeah, something like that.
Sorry, Alabama. But your state's lovely. Wow,
yeah.
That's not something you hear. That may be something I made fun of America, but that maybe would sound more prevalent in places like the southern states of America. But here in Denmark, which is the hardest place to get a firearm, and bikers and skinheads and semi-automatic weapons, that just is so far from what people here in Denmark would be used to.
True. And I told some of my friends at school once
They didn't
And
believe you.
only once they looked at me like I was kind of a mass murderer or something. They didn't understand anything. So I just, okay, not talking about my private life anymore
It's not
because
normal.
apparently I'm not normal.
You're the special one.
The one.
So, how was that? Were there fond memories or were they mostly?
I don't remember having any positive thoughts or feelings until I was about 14 and I was molested by a woman that was 37. So my childhood was not that great. No,
No,
I,
no. I
I
think that's
started.
an understatement.
Yeah, I started drinking when I was around 12. I got my first ulcer because of drinking when I was 15. I got my first motorcycle when I was 14, and 16 I was tortured by three adults and left in a barn for dead.
Jesus.
So yeah, it was not very fun.
No.
And my school years, sorry,
No, no worries.
it's all this.
We're drinking bubbly water.
Yeah.
Burping and swearing is very much allowed on this podcast.
Ah, great. I feel right at home.
That's good.
So for me, it was I didn't feel that anybody cared about me at all. My father always came home drunk, and sometimes he was violent and against us or my mother. Or yeah, I had a little brother at that point. I got a sister later, but my parents got divorced when I was around 12. And I moved with my father because at least he gave me some attention. He told me I was no good, I was a piece of shit, and I would never amount to anything. My mother didn't say anything. She just kind of ignored me. And I'd rather have that than being ignored.
Yeah, some
Because
sort
that,
of emotion.
yeah. So I went with my father and I blamed my mother for the breakup. And this just started a spiral of going to bars, drinking, and yeah, a lot of violence. I started hanging out with some younger and some older guys. A lot of age difference, and some of them were driving scooters or motorcycles, and it was back and forth, but many of them had backgrounds like me with violence in the home, abuse, addiction, and that kind of thing. But there was also a lot of people that had rich parents that just had the same feeling that they wasn't wanted and they didn't feel loved. So there was actually more of them than the ones with the bad families. And more often than not, they when we were hanging out in the streets in a kind of gang, then my friends came and, well, what are you doing here? We're supposed to hang out with your parents. Oh, they had to go to a meeting, so they just gave me a 1,000 crowns so I could buy pizza for you guys.
Exactly.
So we made up our own rules because nobody else cared about us. So we started stealing a little, breaking into stores and cars and that kind of thing. And then one time we stole some beers 3 houses down from one of our friends in the where the car is.
In the garage.
In the garage, exactly. And we brought him back to his place. We started partying, drinking all the beers. And in the middle of the night, this guy comes up and says, "Hey, I know it's my beers you're drinking, and I appreciate it if you put some new ones back before the weekend is over."
Yeah.
And he was talking something about he was in a MC, a 1% club.
Uh-huh.
And the guy he was talking to is just looking at him. And when he was finished talking, he just headbutted him.
Oh, no.
And then some of our friends came and they just beat him up.
They beat up a 1%er.
Yeah, because it wasn't allowed. we didn't care, and we didn't want especially other adults, to tell us what to do.
Oh, that hurts. I can feel it already. Oh.
And what happened was that I don't know if he told the truth. We never saw his patch, but there was a lot of black BMWs riding around with tinted windows, asking questions about my friend. So he had some connections,
Exactly.
and he had to go on vacation suddenly, my friend. And at that bar that we were hanging out, and in Denmark at that time, people didn't care how old you were. No. You could hang out at any place as long as you paid. Another group came by, and they wasn't 1%ers, but they were pretty close. Nobody wanted to have them in their group because they couldn't control them. They did a lot of drugs, and they were very violent. But they kind of took a liking to us because of what we did. And they gave us all this attention, and oh, you're tough guys. You can beat up an adult, and you're just kids. Imagine what you can do if you hang out with us, with our guys.
Oh, wow.
And then we kind of got flattered about it, and we hang out with them. And what happened was that they were just using us for looking out when they were selling drugs and when they were breaking into houses or cars or
lookout kids.
Yeah, actually. And I was also at some point just hanging outside some house waiting for some dude to come home from work because he owed them money, and then they would beat him up. And one of those instances, they brought us in the house, and they forced us to hold this guy down while they cut off one of his fingers and flush it down the toilet. And for me, that was not realistic. It was like a damn movie.
Yeah.
I was just looking at myself standing there where they were doing it. I couldn't believe it. But my friends, they're not having this. So they kind of disappeared like mouse on a sinking ship.
Mm-hmm.
But I had nowhere else to go.
No.
I had no one that gave me any affection or even care. I felt they cared about me. Of course, now I know they didn't give a shit, but back then I felt that that was the only place that I actually was worth something.
Yeah. And that's one of those things you see with that kind of gang mentality. It's that a place to belong.
Yeah.
And when you suddenly have people that show you some sort of attention, and I would guess that a lot of it was some of it was probably positive in the form of reinforcing of how you felt.
Yeah.
And like, hey, good job. The job may have been a terrible job to do, but the fact that someone older and bigger says good job, that's the things that you want to hear from your parents, like, damn, I'm proud of you, or just anything like that. But seeing that finger, did the violence that you had witnessed as a young person at home, was that able to help you look at it and be like, okay? I
think so. I'd never thought of it that way, but I think it was easier for me than some of the other kids.
Yeah.
And at this point, I've seen people get beat up. Beat up bloody.
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't that. Of course, it was much more worse than anything else I've seen at that point.
Yeah.
But it
didn't faze you.
Not as much as the other kids.
Of course. If
and because, okay, this bad thing happened, but I still have this, and this is more important than the bad thing. So all the attention and being a part of that group, I could kind of find, it's over.
It weighs out the other.
Exactly.
So did you feel like that you wanted to do more to get these guys to kind of be more proud of you?
Yeah, I did. Not like that, but cutting off fingers. But I tried. But the problem was that I didn't know the rules. I was just a kid.
Yeah. How old were you there at that time?
I was 16.
Oh,
15, 16. Well, I didn't know the rules. I was just a kid, so I did a lot of mistakes, and I fucked up. And there was a couple of guys that they kind of looked out for me and said, "Oh, it's okay. He's just a kid. He'll learn." But there was some of the other guys that got very angry because I got a free pass.
Mm-hmm. Makes
So
sense.
yeah, so when there was two guys that got picked up by the police because of something they did years ago, there was some guy spreading a rumor that I told the cops about it,
Oh.
and I
Snitches
was
get stitches.
yeah, I was invited to a party, and I turn out they drive me out in this barn out in the woods, and turns out I'm the party.
Oh.
So I get duct taped to this chair. I get a motorcycle helmet on the head that has duct tape around it, so I can't see anything. I can't look out, and they pissed in it before, so I just get this helmet on. That's stink, and they start beating me with bats and burning me with cigarettes. And at some point, they get tired of that, so I can feel that two people are standing on each side of me, and they just keep on hitting me with bats on the side of the head. And it's like I'm getting these kind of electric shocks down the spine
Oh.
for every hit, and it's like being inside a bell. The head is just boing,
Yeah.
and it hurts very much. So, because of the pain and the stench inside this helmet, I throw up. But the helmet is very small,
Oh.
so my vomit can't get out. So I'm kind of choking on my own vomit, and I can't breathe. So I pass out, and I actually think that I'm dead. I'm gonna die now. But I wake up on the floor. I'm not tied to the chair anymore. I still have the helmet on, so I take the helmet off, and there's pitch black. The only thing I can see is a little light under the door in the other side of the room, and I get the helmet off, of course, and I slip. There's wet on the floor, and I half walk and half crawl over to the door where I can see the light and find a switch, and I can see that the the thing I was slipping in was my own blood.
Oh, Jesus
So I was
Christ.
just there's this like a snail,
A trail.
yeah, trail all the way over to the door, and I get out, and I see this dirt road, and I just start walking. And in the meantime, these guys that beat me up, they are at a bar, dragging about,
About.
unaliving me.
Okay.
So a couple of guys, other guys from another group, they found out I know, been known these people for a long time as well, and they find out where this has been going on, and they leave and try to find me. And the last thing I remember is that I'm dragging myself down this dirt road, and I see a car, and I'm just thinking, "Fuck! Now they're coming back." And then I hear a door slam, and I hear a guy yelling my name, and I can hear it's not one of them.
Okay.
So I just pass out,
Shit.
and they hide me in a apartment for I don't know, maybe a month or more. I don't remember. But in that time, I heal, of course, because no hospitals.
Shit.
Uh, Unless something falls off, you don't go to the
Exactly. Yeah.
hospital. But they find out what's really happened, and it turns out that one of the guys that beat me up, he was the guy that
He
was
was a
talking to the
snitch.
police,
Oh.
and he disappeared. there were some rumors that he was going to Thailand, but maybe he just got concrete feet and went for a swim. I don't know, but he disappeared.
If it's around that farm area, it's probably a wood chipper.
Maybe.
That's a preferable way or maybe if there's pig farms, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I have heard rumors.
Yeah. It's about one pig takes about 20 pounds in 24 hours.
Yeah, roundabout.
So if you have 4 pigs,
Four
a
pigs.
guy in 80 kilos,
He's no problem.
he's gone.
And according to a certain movie, you remove teeth, nails, and hair because that fucks up their digestive system. Otherwise, they go through bone like butter.
Okay.
So I have heard. I've been told this.
Yeah, you don't know.
No.
I know a guy that worked at McDonald's.
Okay.
You know, the place where they just throw a whole cow in and they just messed it up.
Yeah, you could easily probably do a human in there too without any problem.
I don't know.
It's probably happened.
I don't know.
I love the direction of this. Okay, so when does all this like start to evolve into an organized gang culture for you? When did you enter into the organized gang culture and not just this wolf pack of?
Yeah, that was it actually.
So what did it evolve to? What did it become? Did it become a group?
For me, they got kind of scattered. Some of them overdosed and got shot. But it was, for me, it was kind of my way of getting out because nobody wanted to talk to me after that. Nobody wanted to apologize or explain anything. So when I met these guys, they just walked on the other side of the street and away as quick as possible.
Were they bikers too?
Yeah, they were bikers.
Okay.
So for me, I didn't want to be in that group anyway. After that was kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So, but I still had all this. Even after that happened, I had more hatred in me, and that was when I had some friends that was they became skinheads, and they talked about this guy, Johnny Hansen, that just made a Nazi bunker close to Copenhagen in Greve.
Yeah.
So I was down there and talked to those guys, and that was, for me, that was it. I was sold. Then I had a fellowship I could hate, and I had something to, like we talked about earlier, something, a purpose in my life, and something that I could look forward to, white Aryan nation and brotherhood.
Yeah.
But have I lived in Copenhagen, I could have been a left-wing activist. It wouldn't have mattered to me. It could have been either way, but I was born in the countryside, and the only foreign I ever saw was a woman in my parallel class at school that never showered. She stank. So I think, yeah, I don't like her.
And that was pretty much all it took, you know?
Yeah,
I
it didn't
mean,
take much more.
and especially when you're not around that, then and you don't get to see it on a daily basis, then you become fearful of you become xenophobic, if you may, a fear of the unknown, because the word racist, or I mean, the word Nazi right now gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
And it's one of those Dunning-Kruger effects where it's like, do you really know what a National Socialist is? Please sit down and explain to me what that is. Or when people say, you're a fascist, do you really know what that means? And the same thing with the word racist. Most people that you would call a racist are probably not real racists. They're just assholes. I mean, unless you're out there when white sheets and hanging people from trees and burning crosses or preaching that people should be burned into huge ovens by the millions, then you're not really a racist. You're just a dumb asshole. And I'm not gonna say lovely things about those words we just talked about, but they get a lot of credit, or miscredit, if you may.
Yeah, but it's also my experience that people don't care about it anymore because the left has been throwing it out there all the time. Everything you say, every time you say something they don't like, oh, you're racist, you're Nazi, you're this and that, and people don't care anymore.
Yeah, and if they do, I've witnessed it before. I just go, no, I'm not. You're just an asshole, and you're not very smart.
No.
And then you can stop it like that because
but if you can't win an argument, you go, oh, you're just a Nazi or you're just a fascist.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean you won any argument. It just means you have nothing more to say.
Exactly. If a young woman says you're a misogynist, then say, please explain what the word misogynist means.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't answer, then we don't need to discuss anymore.
No.
Because Mark Twain said it best: never discuss with an unintelligent person. He will drag you down to his level, and he'll beat you with experience. So it just doesn't matter. Just in Danish, we have the putknap. Put.
Yeah. Don't care. Eat.
So this was down in Greve and with Johnny Hansen, which was the Danish National Socialist Party.
Yeah. Well, for me, it was also I needed some structure in my life, and because everything was chaos. And this was structure. This you do what this was actually like being at home.
Yeah.
With my father. Do what you're told. Shut up, or there's consequences.
Yeah.
It's like with
the army, maybe.
Yeah, or it could have been any other group or any other Bible or scripture, whatever. But I chose this one for some reason, and that became my religion.
So was there a lot of violence connected with all this too?
Yeah, it was, but it's not like people think. Actually, when I hang out with the skinheads, there was a lot of violence because we were kind of like the hooligans. We would call each other up. Oh, you blah blah black something. I'm not allowed to say here, and let's meet up and do an end to this, and then they'll show up 50 guys, and we show up 50 guys, 3:00 in the night in a football field, with knives and chains and gloves, and we'll just beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And then when we hear the sirens, we just ran for the hills.
And nobody snitched anything.
No, nobody, and some of those people, they got beat up real bad.
Yeah. But there's something strangely honorable about when it's like nobody says a word. I said strangely honorable. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not a samurai codex, but but there's something about like not saying, oh no, he was the guy that hit me really hard in the face,
Yeah, that's true.
So at least there's a little bit of manliness of that there and there.
Exactly. So no, if someone breaks into your house and you beat him up and he calls the cops on you, that's the most stupidest thing I ever heard.
It's because in Denmark we have these. I mean, the rule in itself is not bad. I just think it's how Denmark is. The nødværge og nødret, where if a burglar comes in with a knife and you shoot him with a shotgun, that might be different inside your own home. But if you're not allowed to overmatch. So if you're cleaning your hunting rifle and the thief comes in with a knife, you're gonna go, wait, I just have to go get my knife. He's like, okay, sure, take your time.
Yeah. But it's like if someone breaks into my house, rapes and kills my girlfriend in front of me, cut off my legs, then I'm allowed to defend myself. Yes. Otherwise, I'll get in trouble.
We've seen Monty Python. Without your legs, you can be fine.
Yeah.
It is but a scratch.
You can bite. I can still bite. Come back. You coward.
It's good to find people that love Monty Python.
Yeah.
Cheers, Tom.
Cheers.
Okay, so when does this all involve into like coming into an MC?
Yeah, but that was after I got sober.
Oh, okay, no, then we won't go there. Yeah. I was thinking you got into. Were you involved in the outlaw biker MC groups?
Yeah, the group I was with that tried to kill me,
Oh,
they had contacts and they would do jobs that they wouldn't want to do
okay.
themselves, so they just pay these guys to beat up someone or pressure them for money. And I was actually out on at later date. I moved to Aarhus.
Huh?
I got a girlfriend there, and we had a child.
Yeah.
But um, it was it was meant to be me starting up some National Socialist thing in Aarhus,
Yeah.
but it didn't really pan out because most of those were hooligans and
Yeah, it was
skinheads, and they were just
AGF, the AGF
yeah,
fans. Yeah.
they weren't organized and they didn't care about politics. They just ran around uh, making fights with other groups or left wings or just people on the street. So it was a little frustrating for me at the time. But then I had a neighbor that got a visit from. He was involved with something, a couple of local bikers, and I just got in there to I don't know if a cup of sugar or something I needed,
Yeah. Yeah.
and these guys saw me, and I went out, and one of the guys said to my neighbor, "I seen this guy before. Where's he from?"
Mm.
And he said, "Oh, he's a Nazi and he's done these things." And no, I know him from way back. He said,
Oh, it was one of those guys. Yeah.
"Yeah." So he contacted me and said, I know what you did before, and I need a guy like you. If you want to come with me and just stand in the background and look tough, and then just
Enforcer.
let me do my thing."
Yeah.
And but it was never that easy.
No.
I had to get my hands dirty as well
Yeah.
for him to get his money or whatever he needed to get. But I made some money off it, and but yeah, I couldn't tell my girlfriend at the time because she wouldn't approve. I couldn't tell the Nazis because they wouldn't approve.
Yeah.
They didn't approve about gang activity. They didn't approve about too much drinking, especially no drugs.
Yeah.
I had guys that were thrown out of the Nazi party for doing drugs. So that was pretty much structure. So for me, I was kind of living a not a double life, but a triple life.
Yeah. Exactly.
And that was also very stressful. But there was a lot of things going on, and there was some weapons involved, and I had this. We were at a bar at one point. I had this friend with me, and we were talking. There was very loud music, and a lot of people, not much room. And while we are talking, suddenly something splatters all over me, and a guy comes up from behind my friend and just keep on sticking him with a knife. So the blood is just spilling out on me, and I get him off, and he runs through the crowds and ambulance and everything. It was bad, but that kind of stuck with me as well because today I can't do in crowded places with too much noise
Yeah.
because it's just my body remembers,
Yeah.
So
Our
and
crowded places are never.
uh,
No. No.
so even that I know now that everything is fine, my body remembers everything.
Yeah.
That's why I got PTSD, and I got the pension because of it. If I hold a lecture for preschoolers or something,
Oh.
I'm just I don't even think about it, but I look in the room and where's the entrance? Where
Exits.
can
Yeah.
I get out? Is there something I can use to fight with if there is any trouble? And looking at people's faces, is there anyone that might have a interest in hurting me or look like they not belong? And I just it takes minutes, but my brain
Yeah.
it registers everything, and I use a lot of energy on it. I don't think about it; just happens. So when I have a lecture and it takes maybe 2 or 3 hours, 4 at the most, because I always come early so I can talk to people and see the layout and
Yeah, of course,
everything.
yeah.
Uh, so when I get home, usually I'm totally wasted, and
Makes
I
sense.
have to sleep for several hours just to be able to make something to eat. And it's hard, but it's my life now. That's the consequences of being an asshole.
But I mean, those symptoms, yeah, of course
Yeah,
that's true. But those symptoms are exactly how a lot of soldiers, when they come back from
yeah,
war, they're it's the exact same thing. And you've been through a lot of the exact same things with a lot of head trauma, CTE, TBIs, traumatic brain
yeah.
injuries, and then the constant stress. I think Tyler Gray, who is an ex Delta Force, and he was in that SEAL Team 6 series, he tells about the reverse PTSD, where when things are quiet and silent, that's when things start to, that's where it gets uncomfortable, because
Yeah. You're
they
not
thrive
used
in
to
the
it.
chaos.
Yeah.
And when things are quiet, they need that chaos. So there could be something like that too.
I had that some at some point. I think. Otherwise, I don't know why I chose all those crazy women. but
Amen to that.
but I can't I can't have any drama today. I totally freak out.
Yeah.
And before I have what's called complex PTSD because I grew up with it.
Yeah.
It's all the back from my childhood, and it's actually worse because there's less treatment for it because
It's so
it's
ingrown.
it's in your DNA.
Yeah. It's
But I've
horrible.
done a lot of therapy, different kinds, and I have a. It's better today, but I can feel that some things because of all this podcasting and things I'm doing and the club and everything, it stresses me out a lot, and symptoms has actually become worse over the
Okay.
years. I started to have headaches, like my head is gonna explode, and that's something that started the last year. That's not something I ever had before, ever.
Have you gotten checked for like, have you gotten an MRI or something, a brain scan?
I got a body scan several times because of motorcycle accidents, but um, but not recently. But I know what it is. I can feel it. It's stress. My body can't take it anymore, and it's just I need to be careful what I'm doing. Also,
Of
I
course.
told you that this podcast that I'm with a American guy called Manny Vitali. He's also a clean and sober ex-biker. He was also a cop at one point, actually, but he has all the studio and everything. I just show up online, and he takes care of the rest. If uh, if he didn't if he didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to be on a podcast 1 or 2 times a week. That wouldn't be possible for me.
Drains you too much.
Yeah, too
Yeah.
much.
I think that's also a healthy way to look at it, that you need to also know where your limitations are,
Yeah.
and to be able to see, okay, here and not further, definitely not this week.
Mm.
But what about, I got a feeling that maybe because the government or the health system would love to support big pharma and pump you so full of all the good stuff. I think they're SSRIs or whatever they're called, and I'm guessing that you're probably a bigger fan of more natural solutions, maybe like mushrooms we talked about off the podcast, and or we talked about it too here, the mycelium
Mm.
mushrooms or DMT, ibogaine, stuff like that.
I never tried anything. I heard there are some not experiments because they're way over that, but with DMT
Yeah,
in Mexico. Actually, American soldiers go there to,
yeah,
and it helps.
it
I
does.
never tried it. I wouldn't rule it out completely. I
Ayahuasca, maybe too. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that actually. I forgot what it's called now, but I'm the I think it's called the Danish Indian
Yeah, 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 yeah.
something. I've been at some of their retreats where it's cactus.
Yeah, peyote.
Yeah, you put in it's powder. You put some water in it, and then you sit in a circle inside the tent, and I actually felt because I got very sick
Yeah,
and
you
I threw
purge.
threw
Yeah,
up, and I actually felt much better afterwards.
yeah.
But the problem for me was that this is a ceremony that takes 24 hours,
Mm.
and my PTSD was through the roof
Oh,
afterwards.
yeah.
So it was good for one part of my
But fucked
my
up the other
recovery,
part.
but fucked up the other part. So it was for me. It wasn't that. It didn't work as it should have done,
Mm.
maybe, but it actually helped some,
Yeah.
and also sauna.
Yeah, sauna.
I
Yeah.
use that a lot, and also, but that's much harder. The Indian rituals with the heated stones they carry in the teepee,
Oh,
and you
Jesus.
sit shoulder to shoulder, maybe 10 people, and they're beating the drum and
Yeah.
singing, and you're just sitting there, actually hallucinating,
Yeah.
and it's
Trance-like.
powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
I have a very, very high respect for that. My mom is from actually from Borneo,
Yeah.
and they also have certain tribes down there that there's something fascinating about that primal going back to nature and just it's kind of like getting rid of all the noise.
Exactly.
And I basically think that's what it is. It's getting rid of the noise.
Yeah.
And a lot of the noise comes from so many different places, like a bad childhood, abuse of any substance, alcohol, just being in a heightened, constant stress situation.
Yeah.
And I think that getting rid of the noise, and I think those tribes, they got it right in some ways.
Yeah, I think so too. They're much more in tune with nature than we ever been.
And with themselves.
Yeah.
We
They're much more happy.
they're much happier
Yeah.
because it's simple. Now we look at our young people; it's terrible to see what expectations that they have to live up to, and we're just talking about the superficial in what is beauty and what is not, and what people can do. I mean, the whole thing about social media is that everybody has a plan until they get hit in the face, and when
Yeah.
you write whatever you want, you feel that you can write to someone, you're doing it without any consequence
Yeah.
whatsoever. It's like the modern situation should be don't write anything that you wouldn't dare say
Exactly.
to a very large man in prison.
I am glad that I grew up in a time with no modern phones,
Yeah,
because some of the
me too.
I actually, because I have over 100,000 followers on Instagram, then I stopped reading the comments,
Yeah, don't.
because it's just not worth it, because people are so stupid and cruel, and they write the most horrible things, and even if I read them, they stick. Even if I read 5 or 10 good ones and there's one bad, they stick with me. So I don't read them anymore.
Yeah.
But
Post and ghost.
luckily there's a lot of people that write personal messages for me, and that's always positive. They thank me for what I do, and it resonates with them in some way, and that's fine. But I'm not gonna expose myself to that. It's not worth it.
And you end up feeling sorry for him because if you do want to go down the rabbit hole and see who they are, you'll always get disappointed.
Yeah.
It's not this perfectly chiseled man that's built like a Greek god that is happy and has success in his life. Because if he did, he wouldn't have time to do all that. So that's basically
True.
what it is.
That was actually that was kind of funny, because there's a guy I knew from and also an addict from another club I was in. We can talk about that later if we have time. But I wrote something on the internet, and he made a comment about on Facebook about how I was supposed to act as a president, and I was like, "What the fuck? You've been thrown out of every club you ever been with, even the one you made yourself. So how are you gonna tell me what I need to do as a president? I have a club that's 10 years old and is now Europe's largest clean and sober club.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm doing."
I think you know what you're doing. I mean, but would he have said that to you face to face?
Yeah, he's stupid enough, so he would probably have done it.
I mean, there's something about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that kind of, because if it had been some other young punk who said, "Eh, you don't know how to be a president," it's like if you had met him on the street, he'd cower away, you know?
Yeah.
Because the people that can do or are able, they won't be writing stuff like that. It's just
Like Chappelle said, I don't care about Facebook because it's not a real place.
not a real place. Exactly. It's like when girls say, "I'm an Instagram model." Yeah, well, I'm a special forces operator in Call of Duty. But only on Fridays, because I'm not allowed to play video games on the other days. See?
Yeah, that's
Then you can turn it into something, what it really is.
Yeah.
It's just make-believe.
Of course
And
it is.
this all, I mean, I think it's great that we have social media. I grew up in so many different countries, so I get to see what my friends from Arkansas or from Birmingham or from Lebanon are doing. But other than that, it's just...
Yeah, what's the problem with social media is that you get closer to people far away from you,
Yeah.
but it takes you away from the people you're close to.
Exactly. And the people that you're close to, you see more on the screen than you do even though they live down the road.
If I didn't have this fellowship with the Clean and Sober Motorcycle Club, or fellowship, I keep saying club. It's not a club, it's a fellowship. It's because we was okayed as a club in Denmark when we started, but we're not a club anymore. Too much politics.
Oh, damn.
That's another story. But it's much more, if I didn't have this fellowship, then I would probably be much more online than I actually are.
Of course, it's addictive.
Yeah, and I think I use way too much time on online as it is.
Yeah.
But having these meetings once a week with my chapter and visiting brothers and sisters in other countries, that keeps me social. And it gives me something value in my life, because just like we just said, it's not real on social media. So it's just make believe.
Yeah.
And that's also the reason I think that there's so many depressed people in today's society, because they go around, everything is shit, the government won't help, and everything is chaos. But then I can sit a couple hours a day, look at the screen, and play Candy Crush or
TikTok.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Or kill some zombies, or what you prefer.
Yeah, because those people who do it online, they're probably not going to be very good at it when the apocalypse does come.
I don't think so.
No. So what about going back to the national, the Nazi Party?
Yeah.
How did that mix with biker culture? Because I know from a lot of some 1% groups, they have a tendency to. I know I've seen all the old documentaries that a lot of the Nazi paraphernalia.
Yeah.
Paraphernalia. There.
Yeah.
It was for shock and awe, and
Yeah.
not necessarily something that meant something political about it. But how did those two groups interact together? Was there a healthy respect for each other, or?
Yeah, there was. And we had a lot of, we actually had some guys come visit the headquarters in Greve. And we had some guys that switch over. In the start, the first couple of years, that was demonstrations outside, almost every weekend. Sometimes Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then Friday it was the socialist party, and on Saturday it was the mayor, and then some other organization. So and it kept on. So we had a lot of young people, a lot of skinheads, a lot of hooligans that just wanted the drama and the ability to maybe fight if something turned up. But when that kind of slowed down because the neighbors got tired of it, because we weren't moving, and the people that was actually doing most of the bad stuff around the neighborhood, that was the left-wing activists, because they only came to break things and cast stones and bottles at the police. So that at one point people got so tired of it that nobody wanted to show up for the demonstrations, and it was only left-wing activists, and then it just died down. But at the same time, the young people, they stopped coming, because that was the time where the biker war started up between the Hells Angels and the Bandidos.
Yeah,
So they kind of just, oh, now this is dying down. Now we can get some action over here.
Yeah.
And one of my friends, one of my good friends actually, he was a skinhead, and he got arrested. But I didn't see him for, I think, a couple of months. He just disappeared. And then I heard he was arrested for sitting in a back alley with a gun, waiting for a patch member to get home. And the police caught him because somebody saw him there with a gun.
Fucking amateur.
Yeah, exactly. And then he got arrested and got tried for attempted murder. And but some of the other guys, some of the big guys in the skinhead movement, they became fully patch holders in different MCs.
Yeah.
And some of them even switched around. One guy that I knew pretty good, but he had a lot of problems as well. He got thrown out, and then they took him back in because he was a tough guy, so they needed him, and it was kind of chaos. But I met some of these guys afterwards, and even that I'm not in any kind of Nazi movements. Sorry, and have gone out of that over 13 years now. We still say hello if we see each other. We don't have that much to talk about because we live different lives, but there's still respect. But if I meet some from the Nazi movement, they hate me, to say it mild. They see me as a traitor.
But look at their whole ideology. It's built on hate. I mean,
it's easy to hate.
Easy, yeah. It's also, especially in times like now where we're seeing this immigration crisis all over Europe. I mean, I am a product of, my dad's Danish and my mom is from Malaysia.
Yeah.
And I am a product of immigration, if you may. But I therefore have a strong opinion on it. I think the way that the West is going, where there being less children and more old people, we're going to need a workforce. And I am for immigration, but I am for immigration that works, that is under control and under scrutiny, because you don't want the crazies and the yahoos in. And I don't care if they're black, yellow, brown, blue, Swedish, wherever. It doesn't. Norwegian, American, it doesn't matter. We just don't want the yahoos in.
No.
Don't want the crazy people in. We want the people that are like, hey, let's help build up Denmark and let's make it a great place.
Well, that's the problem they have in Sweden now, because they just opened the floodgates, and there are so many immigrants that they are ruining their infrastructure.
Exactly.
and they're losing money, and the whole country is falling apart because now they're building hotels for immigrants. At the same time, young Swedish people, they live at home with their parents because they can't afford a home,
No,
and
no.
there is no home to buy.
Exactly.
And every weekend you can hear about SWAT teams riding around in the big cities, and people get shot, and
Yeah.
the gangs is running wild. And it happened in, I don't know, under 10 years,
Yeah.
just got worse and worse.
And it's a
And
low
and
tolerance of the police too, you know?
yeah, but it doesn't really. It's not immigration, and it's because I know why they did it, because oh, we are not racist, so you can just.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the problem is that you get so many cultures, and you're not controlling what kind of people you get in.
No.
So it ruins everything,
If
and
you
you create racism because you choose to take so many immigrants in and treat them better than the population you have to begin with, and then the Swedish young people, they get afraid because
yeah.
my future, what is my future gonna look like?
Yeah.
And then they start following right wing organizations because they don't see any other way out.
No.
So they are creating more problems instead of doing it the right way. I'm not saying that we did it right in Denmark, in no way at all, but we did it in a slower pace.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, when I was a Nazi, we had a lot of problems with uh, with immigrant gangs and that kind of stuff. But what I see now, and it could be wrong because it's just my point of view. I don't know the stats or anything, but I see that now you have third and fourth generations immigrants, and they kind of just get a part of the Danish society now. They live like any other normal Danish people.
Yeah.
So so the problems we had back then is not the same we have
No.
today. There's, of course, there's still gangs,
Mm.
but you don't have like you have had back in the 19th and early 2000. You have
Yeah.
gangs of immigrants raping Danish girls. That's not happening anymore.
No.
At least not as far as I know.
No. I mean, there's always, as soon as you get into inner city areas or areas where the government has kind of, the government are the ones that have created their own ghettos. That's just basic 101.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, it's a pretty nice little Smørhul, Denmark, a nice little safe haven.
The problem is, and that's something that creates racism in Denmark as well, is that they also discriminate because there are different rules for Danish people and there are different rules for immigrants. They get more help, they get more security and everything, and it's not supposed to be that way. Either it's supposed to be the same or it's supposed to be the other way around.
Yeah.
Because the Danish people, it's their ancestors that have bled, sweat, and wept for this country, so they have priority. Other people that come, if I decide to move to Thailand, I have to take my place. I have to show respect for the country and the culture,
Exactly.
and I have to respect them. And I don't think that it's a bad thing to expect the same way from people coming here.
Exactly. It's a common courtesy,
Yeah.
and I think that's basically what it always should boil down to.
Mm.
And a lot of it again comes from ignorance
Yeah.
about a lot not being illiterate, or not being literate, but being illiterate, not being educated, and therefore it's so easy to fall into to that hole of, well, I'm dumb,
Yeah.
give me. And for me, it's, if you're going to mooch on the system and not be a part of it, I don't care where you're from, then you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
but it's also the government's responsibility to teach people.
Exactly.
You can't just take people from a village in Africa or the Middle East that maybe haven't never even seen a television before, and then just put them in a flat in Copenhagen and expect them just to fit in. It doesn't work
Exactly.
that
No.
way. That's why we had the problems back in also the 90s and early 2000s with they slaughter goats on the terrace,
Yeah.
and they take up the floorboards to plant vegetables, and because that's what they're used to at home.
Yeah.
And we don't have a garden. We live up here. What do we have to do? We need food.
Yeah.
And if the government doesn't take that responsibility and teach them this is how we do it in our country, then you can expect them to.
To assimilate.
No, exactly.
And it would also help maybe if we didn't go around as Western NATO countries to spread freedom and democracy.
Yeah, it's not freedom; it's just pushing oil prices. Every there's a reason for everything,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with freedom.
No.
I've seen how every country in Africa has been raped over the last hundreds, 200 years.
Still.
Yeah, still, and now they're actually fighting back,
Yeah.
and now they're many of the countries is working with the Russians, the Arabs, and
The
the
Chinese,
Chinese,
yeah.
and we don't like that up here.
Oh, boo.
But yeah, boo hoo.
Yeah.
We treated them like shit for generations, and this
Exactly.
is the price we'll pay.
And there's always, I mean, it's human nature. If you're weak and you have something everybody wants, someone bigger is going to take it from you.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be that way
No.
anymore because our society has evolved in a direction. But what I don't like, not that I want to live in a totalitarian system, because I don't. Freedom is the most important thing for me,
Agreed.
especially because I lived on a lie my whole life. I tried to pretend to be something I wasn't. But what I hate about what they call democracy is that there's always something in the back pulling the strings. It's always about money, and they never tell the truth.
Well, yeah. Again, democracy is one of those things. What Latin it means, people in power, and if you're gonna give the power to the lowest common denominator, you're gonna get a result like that. And because we're all individuals and we're all different, it's the same thing as why communism never worked. It looks really good on paper, and then you put it out on people, and you go, "Wow, why didn't it work?" It's because everybody's different.
Yeah.
There's one person that'll say, "I am happy to work for the system," and then there'll be, the little chubby dude sitting in the corner going, I'll let him do all the work because we're different.
Yeah.
And in democracy, there's where you see it some places where, oh my God, you guys need democracy. And then you go to Denmark where you look at all the parties and and then sometimes it changes from one to another, and we still get the same shit fed, but it just has a different name. And because that they all go, and we're going to rally on this, and then they have to make a deal with the other party, and then you end up with the same dish.
Yeah, it
They just
doesn't
move the
work.
potatoes from one side to the other side.
Yeah.
And we have maybe too much democracy.
Yeah.
And that's again, it's humans. Once you deal with humans, you deal with what makes us so great is our individuality, but it can also be a downfall. So it's again balance, yin and yang, and it's one of those things where we're so amazing, but we're real fucking fucktards sometimes.
Yeah, but it's also as long as you allow people to have spin doctors.
Yeah,
You allow companies to go in and pull the strings behind the curtain
Yeah, of
and
course.
pay off politicians to get their way. As
Lobbyism.
long as you allow that, you can't have democracy. It won't work.
No, true democracy would be Bakunin's version of pure anarchism or anarchy, where you have the complete freedom above, what is it? how was it? Freedom under responsibility, or was it the other way around, where it's completely free, no government whatsoever? That's not possible.
No, of course it's not possible. You have to have a system like in the old Rome.
Yeah.
But we are kind of gotten away from all that because we made our communes bigger, and all the smaller ones has been left behind.
Yeah.
But you have to have, if you have a region that are special, you need to have a representative for that region.
Yeah.
And it's not like that.
No.
That was like was in Rome, and in part in America now. The only reason it doesn't feel like it's working. I'm not an American, but and the Vikings, they had also something similar. We have some rules, and if you don't get along, you have to talk to the chieftain, and then he'll decide what we do, so we can all have peace and no infighting and people getting stabbed in the night.
Exactly. That still did happen, but
that did, but there was always consequences. Eric the
course.
Red was banned from Denmark because of it. So nothing is free, and there will always be people that don't abide by the rules.
Yeah. There always again that brings us back to the individuality about people. We're all different.
It is.
And some are wolves, some are sheep, and some are shepherds, or what do you call them? What's that dog? Sheepdogs.
Yeah.
And those are the ones that we need more of. You know what I mean? We need the sheepdogs.
But we all people live by what they learned in life, and that's their experience is formed them in a way so they know what's best for them, the way they want to live. But for me, all the shit I've been through, all the drama, the violence, everything, the most important thing for me is freedom. You're not going to tell me that I need a booster, or you're not going to tell me that I can't go here because I say so.
Yeah.
I will be the judge of that.
Yeah. It's that freedom. That also is part of riding with a cut and riding.
Exactly.
It's the freedom of... and when we going deeper into that, that's a beautiful cut, by the way. Love all the patches. Do you think that Hollywood has, maybe by shows like Sons of Anarchy and Mayans, have they glorified something that maybe shouldn't be, or is it just good old fashioned entertainment?
Yeah, I think they glorified it, but I think it's hard not to. It had to happen at some point. Yeah. But then it was Sons of Anarchy. Everybody wanted to be a biker.
Yeah.
Then it was Yellowstone, and everybody wanted to be a cowboy. So it's
exactly.
That's people's nature.
It is.
But the fucked up thing is that it's many of the things. The first time I started seeing Sons of Anarchy, I stopped because for me it was too real.
Oh, okay.
All the infighting and the backstabbing and you're my brother until you turn your back, and then I'll do what's best for me. That was hard to watch for me because I lived it.
Yeah.
So it took me a couple of tries before the series was actually finished in television before I actually saw all of it. And you see in Denmark also a lot of clubs. It's easy in Denmark to start up a motorcycle club.
Yeah, because we have that right.
Yeah, and there's in Denmark there's something called what's it called?
Waiting zone.
Yeah, but it's there's a federation of clubs.
Yeah.
And they have a internet page where you can.
Yeah. I know this.
The biker fund it's called.
Yeah.
And then if you want to start a club, you can fill out some papers and you can send in, and they'll text you back and they'll say, oh yeah, you need to be 5 guys to start a club, not 4, or your color scheme looks a lot like another club, so you maybe have to change that. There's not like in other countries when you come to when we tried to start up in some countries, especially to England for 5 or 6 years ago. We came and I had 10 guys that wanted to start up a chapter, and we came to the local clubs, and all the big clubs said no problem. And there was this little 1% club that could say no, so they did just because they could.
Shit.
And it's in Denmark, nobody's gonna tell you no. They got and they're gonna tell if they say no, they're gonna tell you why, so you can fix it.
Yeah.
And you can come back in a later time. In other countries, it's a little more complicated.
Of course, that makes
But
sense.
but therefore also there is there are over 500 clubs in Denmark, and that's a lot of clubs for such a small country. We are 6 million people, and there comes more every week, but it's not like in television. It's being a president is actually very hard, and for my experience in Denmark, Norway, and Sweden here in the north, our culture is very self-centered, to say it least. So a lot of clubs have problems with members that misbehave, members that can't fit in, like we talked about earlier with social media. Some people they can't even socialize with other people because they're so much into something online.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of clubs that has many problems with people's behaviors, and there's many clubs that start up and they have so many problems, and the president thinks it's great in the start, but after a while maybe he has to do all the work because he has 5 or 10 members that don't want to do anything. They're just sitting there, and
It's the romantics about
yeah,
it.
and after 5 years he just burns out and says, "Oh, this is too much. Everything is on my back, so I close it down." And many people do that.
Yeah.
So many people come, many clubs spread out all the time, but also just as many clubs they disappear.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. But let's talk about. You want to talk about your club?
Yeah,
So
always.
Yeah, that's also one of those things that I found interesting.
Yeah.
About the Knights of Saint Anthony.
Yeah,
And Saint Anthony is the patron saint of tortured souls, or
lost souls,
Lost souls,
and
yeah.
lost things.
and lost. Oh, yeah, that's right. My mom is a Catholic, and she
Yeah.
would say, "Pray to Saint Anthony because if you lose your car keys."
Yeah, exactly.
And I haven't lost my car keys. So there we go.
It works.
So Kosa,
Yeah.
how did that start about?
Yeah, actually, it started at the same time that. Now, let's take it back a notch. I rode in another clean and sober motorcycle club when I started in a 12-step program. I saw these guys at some of the meetings. I started running with them, but they didn't go to meetings that much. And when they did, it was just to be seen.
Okay.
And at one point, I was sitting as a vice president in a chapter with 17 members, and I was the only one that went to 12-step meetings.
This was the old club.
That was the old club. And
1%er?
no, it was a clean and sober.
Okay.
At least they said they were. But because they have a history with, it's actually started in America in '84. Some guys went out of a 1% club, and they started this clean and sober club, and then it spread to Europe. But they still have that mentality. And I felt like these guys I was with, now they were clean and sober, on paper at least, and they didn't have the balls to be a 1%er, so this was their chance to kind of pretend, so they could boost their own ego
without the consequence.
Exactly. And I always spoke my mind and my truth, and a lot of the things that I told that about my recovery, my problems, it got turned around, got used against me, just like in the regular clubs.
Yeah.
It's seen that if you talk about your feelings, it's a sign of weakness.
Yeah.
But in recovery, you have to talk about your feelings because that's where the recovery lies.
Exactly.
So there was no recovery in this club. We had 2 members that relapsed. Our president threw him out because then he could go to America and say to the international president, "Oh, we have no relapses in our chapter." And one of the guys that relapsed, he actually died in a car accident 6 months later. And for me, that was enough. I said, I can't do this anymore. This is not what I signed up for. And there was a lot of drama and stuff going on. But the short end of the story is that I got out. I was very angry for a while. And then I started up Knights of St. Anthony. I wanted to start up a motorcycle club, and I wanted to make it. I want the name to be Lost Souls.
Yeah.
But I looked up at the internet, and there was 3 other clubs in the world with that name, so I had to figure out something else. But as I was looking on the internet on Lost Souls, then St. Anthony came up.
Yeah.
And I started reading about him, and damn, that was kind of a good thing. I'm thinking, okay, St. Anthony, I can use that. But there was the time where Sons of Anarchy was in television, so I thought to myself, it's not gonna be Sons of St. Anthony.
No, that's too close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and I figured out that there was actually an
Order of Knights.
An Order of Knights called Knights of St. Anthony. They were mostly monks helping the wounded on the battlefield.
Yeah.
But they had some warrior knights to protect them where they went out and got the wounded back to the camp.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool. I think that works for me. And also, Kosa is also the name of a Buddhist warrior monk in Japan many thousand years ago. That fought against the emperor rule for a period of time. I don't remember how long. They actually had several settlements, but in one point, the samurai ruler, one of them, I don't remember which time period, but he eventually saw them as a threat and got rid of them all.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah, that happens. We've seen that before, even with the Templar Knights.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, I think, in many ways, that was the perfect name. And because we started up with a diamond. Here it is. Yeah. And a 3-piece patch. And later we had to change it because it was okay in Denmark, but when we go to other countries, we started having chapters in Norway and Sweden. And to be able to start up, you had to choose. A side. So when we started up in Norway, it was, which side you want to be on, Bandidos or Hells Angels?
Even though that you're a clean and sober club,
it didn't matter. We had a patch.
Okay, but it's because you started as a 3-piece patch, right?
So
top rocker, bottom rocker, and center piece.
And center patch.
Center patch. Okay, so changing to a 1 patch means that you don't have to.
In some countries, there's
Okay.
also different policies, but in Norway and Sweden, we got around it after a while, trying to fit in, trying to make it work. Our Norwegian chapter said we can't make it work. It goes against our beliefs, and we have to do all these things for these people that we. It goes against the club's foundation. So the only reason or the only way that we see out is that we go one patch.
Okay.
But they was afraid, and they were telling us this at a meeting in Denmark, a national run, and the president said, but we are afraid that we are gonna be a club inside the club because if we go one patch, and I looked at the president from Sweden, and he just nodded, and then we agreed we go one patch, all of us.
Okay, and one patch is no top or bottom rockers. Everything is in one piece.
Yeah,
And that gets rid of what?
that gets rid of most of the politics because in the hierarchy in the motorcycle world, the one percenters are the top, of course, and then comes the three-piece patch clubs, and then you have one piece. It's kind of the bottom, and below one piece you have rider clubs. They most of them don't even have back patches. They only have a maybe a round patch on the front or something like that. So because we started like that, we contacted the biggest 1% club in Sweden in our area and said that we are doing this and is what do we need to do to start up? And they just said to us, "You're one piece patch club. We don't care. Do what you want."
It's funny, just about
Yeah.
the patch, you know?
Yeah, but we had to make. I when we started up in Norway, I had to change the patch so many times because then we made a big circle with the name and the country, and then the center patch. Like it was set up like a three-piece patch
Yeah, yeah.
on a round one. And oh, that didn't work. And then I tried to change. Oh, that didn't work either. And then I said, "Fuck it. We just get rid of all the patches. The cross on our back, the Celtic cross.
Yeah.
We just make it bigger, and then we put the text inside the cross, and then
I
that
thought
was done.
that was a good way to do it because
Yeah.
you kept it simple.
Yeah."
Yeah.
And then we changed it from because one piece in, and we didn't want the politics with the MC. So I saw at a rally in Germany. I saw a club had MF Motorcycle Fellowship,
Okay.
and I thought that was actually when I was in the other club before I started up my own, and I thought that was pretty nice. So I immediately when I started up, when we had to change, I said that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go for MS Motorcycle Fellowship.
But does that have any? Does that help in any way compared
Very much
to
an
other
MC.
groups?
An MC, then you have to abide by the law still, even if you're not a three-piece patch.
Okay.
Yeah,
But it's also cool. It's MF, right?
I think so too. Yeah, motherfucker. A lot of people when with some people ask and then say, "What is that for, motherfucker?" So, yeah, it's a little cool, but
But that's and then the people who well let's go a little bit back.
Yeah.
You became sober, and you mind me asking of what were the substances? Was it all and everything, or did you have a poison of choice?
my poison of choice is sex addiction. That was, and I think that was because of.
I'm flattered, and I see you as a handsome man, but I think I'll pass on that one. But thank
Oh,
you so
come
much.
on.
I know. I'm being a prude over here, ain't I?
This is 2025, man.
Exactly. We got to be modern.
Yeah.
Okay.
It only hurts the first couple minutes.
Exactly. It's only a war crime the first time. Okay.
No, but yeah, I think
That's also an addiction, by the way.
Yeah, it can be, and it was for me. Most people think it's just something men say because they get caught in screwing around.
Ah, bullshit.
But everything that kind of gave me a kind of adrenaline boost, I got addicted to. Everything.
So speed.
Violence,
Yeah.
driving fast, roller coaster rides, everything you can think of. Working out with weights. I even work out so much that I got an operation in both sides because my entrails were coming out of my body.
Yeah, the hernia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I was lifting 350 kilos with my legs. And then when we didn't have any more weights to put on, we just used one leg at the time.
Yeah, the one-legged.
And that fucked up my
deadlift.
back as well. Taking 350 kilos with one leg.
Totally Coleman.
Yeah, but that's just shows how an addicted mind works.
It
Totally fucked up.
I can agree with you on that.
Like,
one.
this is a good idea.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna do that.
It makes me feel good, so I'm gonna do it in abundance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's. So, were you juicing too?
No.
You weren't on gear.
I had a friend that died. I think he was 30, 35 or something. And he just didn't wake up one morning.
Heart attack, probably.
His girlfriend woke up and he was just stone cold. And they just got a baby and it was all fucked up. And he was doing coke in the weekends and
Steroids.
amphetamines, and then when he was supposed to relax, he was doing pot and
uppers and downers.
all the time.
Classic.
So
it was such a shame.
Yeah, he was a good guy, but yeah, I thought he was. He was also a violent guy, so there's probably someone that doesn't think he was a good guy. But anyway, moving on.
Moving on.
So what were we talking about?
It was the your different poisons of choice.
So because of me feeling the first positive feeling in my body when I was 14, and this woman that was we had been at this party, and my father was going in drunk. It was actually his girlfriend, and she was horny and she wanted sex, and I was the only male that wasn't too drunk to do something. So yeah, she got what she wanted, and I thought it was. I didn't know what love was, so I kind of mixed it together. I thought that sex was love.
Yeah.
And it fucked me up big time.
Yeah, it'll do that to you.
Yeah, and actually in my relationships, I was focused on if we don't have sex every day, if I don't have sex with my girlfriend, I don't love her.
And if gratification.
Yeah,
type thing.
exactly.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't want to have sex with me every day, then she doesn't love me anymore.
Yeah.
So it was this
black and white
whole fucked up system in my head.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know what care and affection was.
No.
So I had to make up some of my own.
Yeah.
And that didn't work out very well.
No, it won't. Not yours. That kind of logic just never really ends well.
No. So that kind of fucked up my whole life.
Understatement being kind of.
Yeah. And yeah, I always used to say a real man, he doesn't stop having sex before it starts bleeding, and then he jerks off afterwards. So, yeah.
Oh,
That's what happens.
oh gosh, yeah, yeah. I can see. I know guys that will say stuff like that,
Yeah,
and it's probably the ones that are most
I
insecure about the whole thing. Is
exactly, and it became my kind of my whole personality was based around my sexuality.
you're just like the sex god.
Yeah, I could fuck for 4 hours. So and many times some of the girls I never saw before again afterwards, and some came back, but some actually have to say I can't anymore because um, it's too much now. We
And
have
it
to a break.
and it's also
Yeah.
maybe not always just about that. It's the
Mm.
whole. I think I can identify with the idea you put in your head that, oh yes, this must be good for her, and it's not. It's just your self gratification. You being, yes, I am very good at
It's
this.
addiction. It's
It's
just,
addiction, yeah.
and then 5 minutes after, I'm ready again.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, it is addiction. It's just one more fix.
It's
Yeah,
the adrenaline.
yeah.
And what else? Well, you had other poisons that were the good stuff, or not the good stuff.
I
Though.
didn't have. I smoked weed 3 times in my life, and it doesn't work on me.
No,
I can't feel a thing.
no. Some
E-
people are genetically just they don't get it. They don't feel it.
and the same thing with
Cocaine,
no was
amphetamines,
when I was going to have my operation.
the morphine.
The morphine, yeah,
Ooh,
it didn't work.
that's a
So
bad
they
one.
had to sew me together with no painkillers at
How'd
all.
that feel?
Bad. It
I
felt
thought you were
real bad.
addicted to all that lovely
They
adrenaline.
they gave me so much. They gave me so much that she said we we we're afraid to give you any more
Kill you.
because we're afraid that your heart is gonna stop.
They-
So now we're just gonna sew you together. Oh, thank you.
Here, bite on this.
There was this nurse. I hold her hands. I think I broke her fingers. I don't know. It was tough.
And speaking about that gorilla we talked about earlier, they
Oh,
probably
yeah.
gave you enough morphine to put that gorilla down.
I think so too. But it didn't work at all.
No. But morphine and stuff like that, you weren't addicted to that. That didn't give you any.
No,
No, that's a come down, a downer. Yeah.
yeah. They actually I got some penicillin
Yeah, antibiotics.
antibiotics when we were in Thailand,
Mm-hmm.
and it was morphine based.
Yeah.
And my girlfriend, she wasn't, because I said I just want the strongest you have,
Yeah.
because we were driving a motorbike for so long that my arm was kind of I had pain all the time for
Yeah.
using the same muscles every day, hour upon hour.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to go away. So and down there you can buy everything.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a matter of the price.
Exactly.
But she was a little worried because this is illegal in Denmark. You can get addicted to this. It's fine. I was eating these
Like candy.
yeah, and because I just wanted the pain to go away,
Did
and
it
I didn't feel anything. I didn't get dizzy or.
yeah.
It took the pain away.
But that's the important part.
Yeah.
Well, that's a great effect on you then.
But the problem was that I got very sick afterwards because,
Tummy.
yeah,
It's
my
harsh.
stomach couldn't take it.
Yeah.
Because I should probably only have taken one a day. I
Yeah.
took 3.
You got an ulcer, a meso?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I still have sometimes,
Yeah.
but it worked, and no, that kind of morphine and other products based on that stuff, it doesn't work on me.
What about the alcohol?
Yeah, that works.
That works on everybody.
But I never. It wasn't my favorite drug. I never liked alcohol. I only use it to get drunk.
Yeah.
So it was easy for me to get sober. I just chose another addiction or
Yeah.
three other addictions, and I could switch back and forth with.
Mm.
Also, movies were a big addiction for me as well. I could, if I was watching a movie, I was in the movie.
Yeah.
I was the lead character, and my girlfriend could go naked in front of the television. I wouldn't see her.
You were fully
She could
immersed.
burn the house down around my ears. I wouldn't notice
Yeah.
anything. I was just paralyzed in this fantasy world.
That could also be a symptom of maybe you as being a child watching television to drown out whatever was going on. Definitely something like that.
Yeah, that
Some
was
escape from reality.
yeah a way for me to escape the pain I was in. Just letting my whole fantasy world go inside this,
Immerse
and I
yourself.
still have it sometimes. It was worse than I was a kid, but if I saw a movie I liked, I could think about it for days and
Yeah.
days, and what if this happened, and then if he got with this girl instead of that one, and he won that battle, and I just I was make my own reality inside my head from just looking at one movie.
I was gonna recommend the new movie Warfare, but now that you told me that, don't watch it, because then we might not get you back.
Yeah, that might be a problem then.
So, and then in this club, compared to other MCs or it's complete sobriety in this club,
Yeah, it's
or is
it
that
it
not?
changed over the years a bit because in the start it was much more Christian based.
Yeah.
That's why we have the cross. But over time, we hung out with different Christian groups, and they were, excuse my words, arrogant fucks. It was just like hanging out with the Nazis. Everybody, if you're not Christian the exact way that they were, you were nothing. They didn't respect you. They tried to get you on their side, but if they didn't succeed, they didn't want to speak to you
It's
anymore.
fundamentalists.
Yeah,
And they exist in all branches, you know?
exactly. And there was this other. Before I started my own club, I tried to get into some Christian clubs because I thought maybe they have a better attitude.
Mm.
And one of the clubs, you had to be okay 3 times, and you have to get up in front of this panel, and you have to excite passages from the Bible and stuff. And that's not for me. It's just for me. It's just a book. I believe in God, but I don't believe in the Bible in that way.
It's just good stories. Some of
Yeah,
them.
and it's been changed so many times, so God's word is still there, but it's hard to find for the people that don't want to look.
Mm.
And then there was this other in Odense, this other Christian club, and I kind of mailed him. We mailed that time, mailed
Ooh.
back and forth. And at one point, he asked me, "Oh, what kind of motorcycle you have?" "Oh, I have a Yamaha." And then I didn't hear anything from him ever again. So that's the kind of attitude that I would wanted to get away from, and therefore also we had many Christian members in the start,
Mm.
but it was always like they always fell away after some time because then we were not Christian enough, or then we were not Christian in the right way, or there was always some problems with the Christian members. So, what I realized was that the members that stick and wanted to be a part of the club back then, the club was addicts,
Yeah.
people like me from 12-step programs. So it became more and more, and today it says in our bylaws that we are a spiritual club based on the principles of the 12-step
I
program.
love that.
Yeah.
That is so cool because instead of using the word religious, that can actually sometimes have a very negative connotation, to say that you're spiritual instead of religious is so much more broad and just, it sounds better and it has a broader meaning, and it also has a more positive meaning.
Yeah.
Because if you say you're religious, that means that there's probably someone on another side of the fence that you really don't like.
Yeah.
If you say you're spiritual, it's like, that doesn't seem hateful at all. It
No.
seems that you're thoughtful and that you're searching for some sort of a higher meaning, and some sort of some answers for your own satisfaction, and not just to whack someone over the head because you're not this enough or you're not that enough or maybe you're too much of this. And I love that. That was something that really caught my eye. That was the spiritual club. And that really,
For me, that's also, as a God, that's a personal thing.
of course it is.
No, as long as you don't hurt other people and you don't hurt yourself, I don't see a problem with anything you do. If that's your religion, that's fine with me. I don't care.
Yeah.
You can pray to who you want, do what you want, as long as you don't tell me what to do.
Exactly. Religion
don't
is
have
like a
one.
penis. You haven't heard that one? Religion is
Nope.
like a penis. It's great to be proud of it, but don't whip it out and try to shove it down other people's throats. That's basically how it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I have to remember that
Yeah,
one.
you should. It's one of my favorites.
I can understand why.
And the whole church and the book thing, it's like if you're doing business with somebody, do you want to go through 3 or 4 people before you get to the main guy? No.
No,
You just want to go direct,
exactly.
you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, and all those priests, all that red wine and little kids, it's terrible.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
So what kind of, I bet your club does a lot of maybe some charity stuff, and you do some runs.
Not so much. We do. We let other people do it. We join other charity things because I have, especially in my chapter, I had some people that are very pressed on their sobriety.
Yeah.
I got a guy in a wheelchair. He's a retired member, so he can't ride anymore. I got a guy that's schizophrenic. He's actually 4 members. So
4 patches.
yeah, so,
Shit, that's expensive.
So yeah, he pays 4 dues.
Poor bastard. You haven't told him yet, have you?
No. So I only told one of them.
Oh.
But no, and he's actually the most active in the club, in the fellowship. So so we try to just hang out and support each other in recovery.
Yeah.
There's other chapters that has more energy to do stuff. Our German chapter, they do a lot of charity with children.
Yeah.
And it's almost every month.
That's cool. I love that.
It's cool. And but mostly it's just trying to stay sober, have a family around us. Many of us don't have access to family, maybe because our members did something that so the family says no, or they have to say no to their family because they're in
A source
drugs
of the
or
addiction too.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So therefore we also have Christmas together, New Year's, and we always take care of each other. That we if we need help, we are there
Exactly.
to back up everything.
A fellowship or a brotherhood, if you may.
It's a family.
It's
It's
family,
actually
yeah.
a family, and that's the most important thing because I never felt I had any.
No.
So this has become my family, and I'm very proud of it.
That's so cool.
And we also have, because it's, and our whole club, it's not just in the description based on the 12-step program. We actually do it. So we have meetings every time we meet. We have meetings. We call it fellowship meetings because we have people from NA, AA, Adult Children of Alcoholics, Al-Anon, all different kind of 12-step programs. And those 12-step programs are, of course, anonymous, but the club is not.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we can do the stuff we do, but people, it's up to them to tell what they want about their recovery or what. But it's just like a 12-step meeting at an AA. We tell how we feel and what's going on in our life, and then we have 3 texts that we read up before we start. The description of the fellowship, the Kosa Nation, and then we have letter to prospect, like you have in AA, you have newcomer, letter to newcomers, and then we have the traditions. And traditions for us is what we do when we are together. So if new people come in, they knew this is when we have a run, this is what we do. When we're out riding, this is what we do. When we have Kosa weekends in different countries, this is what we do. And it helps people also know what's going on and make them secure. And it's not just, I also, in the traditions, it says why we're doing it. It's not just we're doing this.
Exactly.
It says we're doing this because, and that also makes people understand what we are and why we are. And it's, I think, and who we are as a family and as a fellowship. And I think it's important that you just don't just tell people that we are doing this because we've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah.
No, we are doing this because
it helps.
It helps.
But do you guys follow like more old school traditions like prospecting?
Yeah, we have our bylaws is just like it could be a 1% club actually.
So the same old school values.
Exactly. It's just we don't treat our prospects like in a 1% club. It's more like a time period where you can see if you fit in and
chemistry
you can see
wise.
And of course we prefer people they actually help.
Yeah.
Because it's our we learned over the years that if you do not help as a prospect, you do certainly not help when you're a full patch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I get why the prospects have to do those jobs. It's to teach them because when they start as a hang around, they get treated very well, and then as soon as they get the prospect patch on, then they have to learn that eat the humble pie.
Yeah.
So what about there are no rules on bikes?
No, there are no rules on bikes, and different countries you have different rules about how big or small they can be, but there are no rules on marks or it has to be a 1600 or 1800 and it has to be a Harley. We don't have none of that.
So just a certain size, so no Pukmaxi.
No scooters. We actually had a member that thought he could ride to work on his scooter with his patch on. So I had to tell him that that's not going to happen. and if you do it again, I'm going to take the patch from you. And yeah, he's not in the club anymore anyway, so.
But do you have like the old school roles too? Like you have a president, of course, that's you. Do you have a sergeant at arms?
It's exactly the same, and that's also important because when I started this this fellowship, I was good friends with a guy in Jutland that works at a recovery center, and he saw a lot of these young prospects from 1%ers come in and get clean.
Yeah.
And then they get out and then they come back a couple of years later, full patch, same problem.
Yeah.
And we talked a lot about that. And for me, it's important that it looks like it's still the same. So here you have a motorcycle club. The patches look similar. The bylaws are similar. The way we do things are similar. So you know what's going on.
Exactly.
You,
It seems familiar.
yeah, it's safe.
Yeah,
It's
it's
safe.
familiar and
Yeah.
safe. So they know half of it, but it's better for them.
Yeah.
So it's also cathartic and healing for them in that sense too.
And we actually have in those 10 years we have had less. We are over we are about 100 members right now, and we have had less than one relapse a year.
What?
And we have had even people that has left our fellowship. Not one has gone back to their old environment.
That's
Not one.
awesome. That means that your effect, the club's effect on them, has been lasting and has meant something for them. Well,
Exactly.
I mean, that should actually be what keeps you going on all this. That's a good fuel.
Yeah, I think it's the best fuel actually, and people. Some people come up when I go to meetings. I don't have. I don't have. What's it called? Sponsee.
Oh, a sponsor?
Yeah, I'm not a sponsor in the program because I don't have time.
No, of course.
So when people come and, oh, do you have any sponsees? So yeah, I have over 100.
Yeah, exactly. You're the el jefe.
Yeah.
So I mean that makes
So
sense.
that's it takes too much time, and sometimes some guy fuck up and I have to have a late night meeting with the other national presidents from other countries, and we have to fix stuff, and we have to start up new chapters in other countries, and it's a lot of work.
Of course it is.
And,
It's your
and
baby.
I only have the energy I have, especially with the PTSD. But when that is said, it also gives me a lot, and this is my 12th step, the club. This is my way of giving it back. So I'm proud of it.
You have a good VP that can take some of the workload away from you.
Yeah, not so much. He's a very good sparring partner, but he has a big family and works, so he has a lot of things going on in his personal life, and that's one thing we have in our club or fellowship. Fellowship is that there are no events that you need to come to.
Exactly.
Mandatory. Your recovery comes first, then your job. First recovery, because if you can't take care of your recovery, you can't take care of your job. And you can't take care of your job, you can't take care of your family.
Yeah.
And if you can't take care of your family, you can't be a good brother.
Exactly.
So the club comes number 4.
Yeah.
Always.
Home has to be sorted out before.
Exactly. So if you say I can't make it, or I'm in a tough period right now, you probably won't see me for the next month or two. Fine. Yeah. Just check in once in a while. If you're okay. Yeah. And then there's no sour faces or
animosity towards
or comments and nothing. And that's important, because we didn't feel that kind of respect and love in the old system we were in, or clubs or gangs or whatever.
No, of course.
Most of our members are former addicts, former gang members, and soldiers with PTSD.
Yeah. Well, I mean, soldiers did invent the 1% Club.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they did. It was the old pilots, right? Second World War?
Yeah. I think it was back to the First World War, because the outlaws actually started.
That's right.
In 38, I think. Yeah. So it was before.
Yeah. And the funny thing, all the wars have the different
clubs.
Yeah, it's like, maybe war isn't good. Never mind. So we've been on here for almost 2 hours, and it feels like 15 minutes.
Yeah, it actually does.
Cool. But so what do you ride?
A Suzuki Intruder 1400.
My dad rides the Yamaha Dragstar.
Okay.
It's a
That's a
smaller
good
one.
bike.
It's a really nice
Yeah.
bike. Yeah. I mean, I was more into the crotch rockets as a young boy,
Oh.
but I love the old school bobbers with flat with the white wall tires and then the spring saddle.
Awesome.
Yeah. But I mean, I don't really care about the brand. Of course, but as long as it looks good
Yeah.
and sounds good.
I'm a chopper guy.
Yeah, the older I've gotten, the more I can see the aesthetics and the beauty in them. But there's some of the choppers. There's some of the styles, like when you watch the shows, that the different trends where the big with the big what's it called, the big windshield and all that on there, or the really high ape hangers. You know, I guess it's different strokes for every folks.
Yeah.
So.
I have high
Hangers.
high ape hangers because of my back issue.
It probably helps you.
Yeah, I
Stiffens
got
you up a
straight
bit.
up, and of course you're not gonna have your hands over your shoulders
Yeah.
because then the blood runs out.
Exactly.
But sitting there, I can ride for hours. It doesn't matter.
And it's when it gets up here,
Yeah.
that's where I think it starts to look weird. But there, I get that.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because when I had my other bike, I was way lower, and it puts way too much pressure on my joints,
Yeah.
especially in my hands.
And I remember when I think it was the 1%ers in Denmark were big. They were all riding with like the racer, where they were all the way stretched out, and that looked anything but comfortable.
Yeah,
It doesn't look very.
but I don't think comfort was what they were going for.
You got to look cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever floats their boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Goofy, let's end on this one, and then we can always do some more another time, because I feel that we could easily talk for hours.
I think so too. I would love to come back another day.
Oh, I'd love to have you, man.
Great. Deal.
Fuck yeah! But I have one request.
Oh, fuck.
I want your signature double OK for the camera.
Oh, I don't have my sunglasses. You have one I can borrow?
I think I do, actually. Do I? Fuck! I think I have a pair of shades here.
Yeah.
But they're not as nice as yours. There you go. You
And
get a
they're
pair of
white.
Oakleys.
As long as they're not pink.
No, they're not pink.
Can I just say before we leave that
Yes, of course.
my new podcast that I started up with Manny Vitali is it's called My Brother's Keeper, a biker's podcast, and it can be seen on most social medias at this time.
YouTube.
And it's every Monday. And of course, I have my own, The Sensitive Biker.
Yeah.
I just forgot. Who am I? Who are you? What am I doing here?
PTSD.
Yeah.
I will post all links for you.
Oh, thank you.
And I'll clear them with you on a message.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
Man, I know. I appreciate you being here, man. It's been such an exciting. I've been looking forward to this, and you have just you've gone above and beyond, man.
Yeah.
And huge respect, and shout out to the Kosa, the fellowship, the Motorcycle Fellowship. They can check you guys out on your homepage.
Yeah, kosanation.com.
kosanation.com.
It's not updated, but it's good enough.
And the Sensitive Biker, and there are underscores, or is it periods?
It's in. I think it depends on which platform you look at.
Instagram, I think.
Yeah, Instagram. I think it's one word.
Yeah, the Sensitive Biker. But I will post links for all of that stuff.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it.
You ready?
Don't have a good day. Have a great one. Okay? Okay.
Welcome to Bam Bam's Boom Boom Boom, starring your host, Bam Bam, and frankly, whoever the fuck that I want.